in ministry. She actually worked to put him through both Bible school and seminary, and he pastored several small churches. Turns out that even though they had 4 children and seemed to be getting along quite well, turns out he was not only a womanizer, but actually had also been guilty as a pedophile. Suddenly, because the sock comes unraveled, so to speak, she confronts him. When he can no longer deny it, he finally admits to it and says, okay, so I did this. Now you, as a good Christian wife, have to forgive me. And furthermore, not only do you have to forgive me, but if I do it again, you have to forgive me again. 70 times 7, said Jesus. And you can never bring up my past once it is forgiven. This woman told me that she was naive enough to believe that the relationship might work, so she forgave him. Until it happened again and again. She told me she had no idea of how deep these roots of sin actually were. And then he added these words, and this is very important. He said, not only do you have to forgive me, but he said, if you do not forgive me each time and receive me back, I fear for your soul before God. Now hang on to that phrase, because that is characteristic of abusers. Abusers will always say, it is really your fault. You're the one who has to fear God, not me. And when they become really evil, you've heard me say this before, but is so crucial here, understanding the nature of evil. The truly evil person does not see the evil that is within him. He sees the evil that is within him as residing in others. And he honestly does not see the evil that is within his own heart. And so he says, I fear for your soul if you don't forgive and reconcile. Well, we're going to be talking about issues such as that in this message and in the next message to follow. But I need to stop here and say that this message is not just for those of you who have been wronged. Because some of you are saying, I can identify with that. Some of you women, God bless you, you may be saying, that's something like my husband was. But I want to also identify those of you who are the abusers, those of you who are the manipulators, those of you who are doing the wrong, those of you who are pushing upon other people your sinful agenda without your repentance. I'm speaking to you too. Do you see why this is a hard message? And it's not going to get any easier as it goes on. Let me give you another reason why. Oh, by the way, regarding this man, when his pastor said he needs therapy, his response was, not me, that's for people who are sick. All right? A third reason why sometimes reconciliation isn't possible is because the parties cannot agree on the facts. Here's a Christian man who does printing, and so he's asked by another Christian to do this printing, and they agree on a certain price, but there's a cost overrun because of some specialties that weren't taken into account. And so one man expects the other to pay, and the other says, I didn't agree to pay that price, I agreed to pay this price. And on it goes. And they refuse to be able to see what happened in the life of the other person. They refuse to stand in the other person's shoes and see it from his viewpoint. And when you hear their stories independently, you're absolutely convinced that each person is absolutely right. There are some times when we as Christians cannot see eye to eye. But this is Pastor Lutzer talking to you today, my dear friend, and asking you to honestly evaluate whether you can be reconciled with another believer. Sometimes it is very difficult, but the fact that it is difficult should not stop us from trying. Now, there are times that it is indeed impossible, as I have outlined in this message. But you and I should do all that we possibly can. I frequently say that we should be able to look everyone in the eye and know that we have done whatever our part can possibly be to bring about reconciliation. God desires that we be reconciled Because where 2 or 3 are gathered together in the name of Christ for reconciliation, Jesus says, I am there in the midst of them to bring it about. I also believe that the Apostle Paul gave us a model of a lifestyle when he said, it is his desire to have a conscience that is void of offense before God and before man. When God begins to do a deep work in our hearts, the deeper the work, the greater our desire to be reconciled with those whom we have wronged or those even who have wronged us. Seek the Lord today. Ask Him what He would have you do to be fully reconciled with other members of the body, or for that matter, even with those who are not believers.
Dr. Erwin Lutzer with Part 1 of Reconciling with Those You've Hurt, the 5th of 6 messages on After You've Blown It, Reconnecting with God and Others. Tomorrow, more on putting shattered lives back together. We hope you'll join us. Running to Win comes to you from Chicago's Moody Church to help you understand God's roadmap for your race of life. Our current series is available on CD, cassette, and MP3, and also it's in print as a Multnomah Life Change book. For full information on these resources, call toll-free at 1-800-215-5001. That's 1-800-215-5001. Ask about the series After You've Blown It when you call. For information on other ministry resources, go to our website at runningtowin.org. And don't forget, this broadcast is supported by listeners just like you. This is Dave McAllister. Join us tomorrow for our next Running to Win.